I guess I'll just start off with saying that this is not an AA meeting. I have nothing prepared, Paul, so you can
That's
just
okay.
go ahead.
I want to actually riff on what Dana was saying, if anyone heard it. First of all, welcome everyone, and then we'll get down to the meaning of the platform. But Dana said something very good about I'm not worrying about today or tomorrow. Now, there'll be a lot of times they'll be worrying about today and tomorrow. And if you see that you're not that which is worrying about yesterday and tomorrow, it's a much easier way. Because the other way is based on you stopping doing something that you really don't have much to do about. Yeah. So instead of I'm not thinking about yesterday or tomorrow in a way that there's no thought about yesterday and tomorrow, I'm not thinking about yesterday and tomorrow, and there may be a lot of thoughts about yesterday and tomorrow, but I am not the thinker of yesterday and tomorrow. To me, this works better in a way than the other one. The other one just brought about a whole new level of orders and failings and stuff. So it seems like a small thing, but a lot of times people can't stop thinking about yesterday or tomorrow. And then maybe they believe one day they did something and now they're not thinking about yesterday, tomorrow, but they probably will be thinking about yesterday, tomorrow shortly. But maybe, just maybe, we're not that which is thinking about yesterday and tomorrow. Now that's applied, and you're not that which is not thinking about yesterday and tomorrow. It's so beautiful, really, because I found that when people would present the clearer, easier way, it got hard because it was based on me. Stopping doing something I actually wasn't the doer of to begin with, you know? I have no cat. Thoughts are like cats. I'm not a herder, a sheep herder of cats, dog, you know, thoughts. They just, one day they may behave, and therefore you think you've got mastery over the thoughts, and then you're under their effects in the next 10 minutes. So this message is more about, like, when I first got sober, I remember the process a little bit. I would be sitting, there would be this really big meeting in AA in San Francisco, Tuesday night downtown, and it was at Grace Cathedral, beautiful place. But I would sit in the back at the beginning because I obviously didn't know anybody. And when I was sitting there amongst all these other people, I felt a strong, like a strong, like cocoon-like effect of terminal uniqueness. Yeah. I did not believe anyone there had my thoughts or my feelings or had done as many of the heinous things that I had done. And this was like my own, not my own, but a prison without any locks or doors. I just sort of accepted that. Yeah. And therefore I had no ability to learn from others because I didn't think others were like me. But in this case, with alcoholism and addiction, it's the whole premise is the we, because we have been defeated by self. It doesn't say you have, it says being convinced self manifested in various ways is what has defeated us. Yeah. It's like a group condition, situation. And how it defeats us is with the same thoughts and feelings and perceptions and reactions to life that cause us to easily get resentment and shit like that. That those activities are very, very finite, and they're happening in all of us, clouded or disguised by this sense of terminal uniqueness, as if the thought that's directing me to get loaded is different than the thought that's directing you to get loaded, when it actually isn't. Yeah. So that was so when I was there for the first month or so, I was listening to people share, which people do, And what do they share? They usually share their thoughts and their feelings and shit that's going on, or what they used to do, or what they're still doing. And after a couple of months of listening, I could only come to two conclusions. How did these people get my thoughts, or they weren't my thoughts? Yeah. And one of the first big leaps of recovery was recognizing a large swath of what was streaming in my head was alcoholic thoughts. Yeah. Shared by alcoholics. My name, your name isn't even mentioned. Yeah. Alcoholic thoughts shared by alcoholics, not my thoughts shared by other people's thoughts. Alcoholic thoughts, not me, shared by others, shared by me and others. Yep. So, and what happened? I felt some relief. Yeah. Something that was right on me, and it was so on me, I didn't know it was on me. It got moved. And when it got moved and lifted, that's when I started to recognize what had defeated me. Yeah. You can't see self as self. You can't. You can see self from what you are. And what happened is, when the owning of self's manifestations in my life, my resentments, my fear, my harming other people in the pursuit of what I want, that was an incredible camouflage where instead of seeing how self defeated me, I was looking from the defeat. Yeah. I was looking from the defeat. So I was definitely going to get punched. How I rolled with the punch, these are the things I was attempting to learn, but I was definitely going to get punched. This is about relief from that. Yeah. So, and this is how it happened with me. I was just doing what we do in recovery, and I had a commitment, and that commitment was leading a 4th step workshop in a place called the Dry Dock in San Francisco. And so every Monday night I was there at 8:30, I think 8:30. And so I was reading How It Works quite a lot. And I kept reading, 63, 64, profoundly important, about, quit playing God. And this was one of the first things that happened to me. When I read Quit Playing God, I thought I was the one playing God. Yeah. And there was another order coming down the pike. Now I have to quit playing God. Jesus Christ. I can't even get my pants on straight, or fucking show up for an interview. All right, I'm going to quit playing God. So with that understanding, which was a misunderstanding, yeah, things went on and stuff like that. And that misunderstanding was corrected. And how it was corrected was, I saw I wasn't that which is playing God. Yeah. And so let's say someone's smoking and I want them to stop smoking. I'm seemingly powerless over it. Yeah. But if I quit wanting them to stop smoking, then their smoking doesn't bother me. So I quit playing God, which is I lost interest in that which was playing God. How did I lose interest? I saw it wasn't me. That's all. That's how it worked. I'm just telling you how it worked. The chapter isn't a dead chapter in a book, how it works. Yeah. So how has recovery worked in this life? I'm sharing it with you. This is how it works. Yeah. I misunderstood a lot of stuff, and then I was brought to new understandings. Yeah. And the part of getting to the new understanding was the uncomfortableness of seeing all the misunderstandings, which I thought I had been conveniently, successfully avoiding for years, being completely obliterated every fucking day on something. Yeah. So all that work never worked. And then it caught up with me in recovery. And now the misunderstandings, one by one, sometimes in a bundle, they would be dismissed. So this misunderstanding of quit playing God, and it's an important point, because in the linear program of the 12 steps, it has the hierarchy of first. It says first you have to quit playing God. And then next is the main principle of recovery, which is the 3rd step. Yeah. Relying on something greater than what? Yourself, so to speak. Yeah. But before that, it says first you got to quit playing God. It doesn't work. Yeah. So, man, I hope the understandings you have about playing God are revealed to you as maybe misunderstood. And then when you can recognize quit playing God doesn't mean the playing God stops. You just lose interest in that which is playing God. So, how do you recognize that's happening? One of the main aspects of the head playing God is being your GPS. Yeah. It directs you. It tells you, you punch it in. I'd like to be happy today. You punch it in. It gives you a long, convoluted thing like go to Fell Street to the dealer, go here, go there. And then you usually end up at 850 Bryant, the police station in San Francisco. So the GPS is one of the easiest things to see. It's playing God. Yeah. And what happens is when you lose interest in it, you stop taking its directions. So when it says go left, you don't go left, you go forward. And after a while, you get into the habit of not listening to its directions. Yeah. Now, you may think it's a hell in your head, but when that head has a chance to express out here, you may be in prison for 30 years. So you may not think it's a great relief, but it's a damn fucking great relief. You're not getting arrested today. Really. I mean, because that's basically what was happening to me. At the end, I was getting arrested every week. Yeah. Because the genie kept coming out of the bottle and it had more than 3 wishes for me. And those wishes never proved to be that beneficial. So this thing, quit playing God. All right. I tried it. It didn't work. Yeah. I asked God to help me quit playing God. But I asked God as that which was playing God. It didn't work. Then I finally realized I'm not that. These are not my thoughts. They're thoughts, but they're not mine. And first, I saw the tail of the animal, which was alcoholic thoughts. But then it brought me to the nose of the animal. All thoughts are not really able to be called mine. Yeah. Because I don't know where they come from, and I actually don't know where they go. Yeah. They just sort of show up on a screen. They pop like a bubble. Some message comes out of it. And either I fucking get affected by it and I don't. And I saw I was mostly affected by thoughts when they were held as my thoughts. Yeah. I wasn't affected by your thoughts that much. I wasn't. Being self-centered, I could give a shit, really. But I was incredibly affected by my thoughts. And that was interesting to me. You can have the same thought and knowing it was yours doesn't affect me, but that same thought held as mine can ruin my day. So I started to see the distribution of power in life. Yeah. And I saw most of the power that I represent was being funneled through the fucking head where the problem resides. And the power that I may be an expression of was being imposed upon me as a slavery. It was really fucking weird, you know? So that blew my mind. I saw that. Then I was doing this thing every day, every Monday. It's page 64, being convinced. Very important requirement in recovery, being convinced. Step 1, being convinced. Yeah. Step 2, step 3, being convinced. All right, what am I convinced of? Self manifested in various ways is what has defeated us. Yeah. All right. Am I convinced of that? Yes, I am. Am I being convinced of that now? No, I'm in the relief from it, but I am convinced of it. That self manifesting in various ways is what has defeated us. Self is still manifesting in various ways, but it's not defeating me anymore. What happened? Really? Something must have happened. It's still trying to defeat me, but it's not winning, seemingly. Yeah. So being convinced of that, we are now going to look at its common manifestations. Well, it to me implies self. It doesn't mean us. It means self. And so they're going to describe some of the common manifestations that appear in our lives when our life is dominated by self. The number one offender and the number one killer is resentment. Yeah. So resentment is a manifestation of self in my life. And through those manifestations, which are followed by fear and harms done to others, and these are the common ones, there's a lot more subtle ones. Through these manifestations, I am defeated. But what allows me to be defeated is the identification as self. Yeah. Now, do you want to prove you're in the act of being identified as self? Next time you talk about resentment, you'll probably talk about your resentment. Yeah. There you go. You're in seemingly the act of being identified as self. What do you mean? Well, you're mistaking self manifestations as yours, and you're passing it on, that same mistake, talking to others who now pass on the same mistake, talking to others, and even pass on the same mistake when they give advice about how to do a fourth step. They say, go home and look at your resentments, your fears, and your harms done to others. But they're not your resentments, your fears, and your harms done to others. From the big book of AA, they're manifestations of self in one's life. That's quite different, yeah? Just saying, just saying. So there you go. I think you should do whatever you want to do. Do an inventory on your resentment, and maybe after a few years, or maybe after a day, or maybe after a week, go back and do a little segment and take the my out of it, yeah, and see what's easier to deal with, your resentment or a resentment. Because I'm telling you, your resentments have a family tree that's historically bound to a fucking grievance. Yeah, it's like you're a Clampett or the other fighting family. Yeah, you grow up, you don't want to be involved in it, but the same fucking shit captures you as captured all the other earlier Clampetts and the whatever that other family was. Yes, so because my is a historical figure. When my huge amount of history is given to resentment, which is really a flash in a pan, so to speak. Yeah. That resentment, domesticated by calling it yours, can live for 60 years. As long as you live, it can live. It's fucking mind-boggling. Yeah. Mind-boggling. Have you ever seen a resentment in the wild? It doesn't live that long. It doesn't. But my resentment, I start knitting sweaters for it, like people do for their dogs who have fur already. I don't understand how they're going to get cold, but they give these little vests and everything. This is what we do with resentment. These are my resentments. Come, my little sons and daughters, come to Papa. My resentment, my fear. Man, my fear is worthy of a country western song. My fear is worthy of a large blog post or Facebook fucking shit. My fear. It's not even fear, it's mental anxiety. It is. Fear is an emotion, valid as hell, that hopefully is not up right now because you're not under an apparent threat of getting killed or something. Yeah. In your little Zoom fucking square. I don't see a large shadow hovering behind you. Watch out. Watch out. You'd be in so much mental anxiety, it would cover the actually appropriate response of fear. It would. You're so used to crying, wolf, you won't fucking recognize the wolf is there. You won't. So this happened. I saw self as something foreign to me. Thank God. That's all I can say. I don't know. It was a felt sense thing, but it was convincing. Yeah, because I had tons of evidence living under the tyranny of self. I had tons and tons of evidence of what it was like to be bound to this idea of self. Finally, it brought about an understanding that I am not that. And I've just been riding that in the wave for the last, I'd say, 30 years of sobriety. Yeah. I haven't found anything new that supplants it. It just brought about a possibility that I could be free from that which has defeated me, instead of trying to be free as that which is defeating me. It's a huge difference, huge difference. And I humbly believe, without knowing it, a lot of us are in the activity of trying to be free as self. Yeah. where the freedom is from self. It still says it. It says, please relieve us of the bondage of self. It doesn't say, please relieve self of all bondage. Yeah. It says, please relieve us of the bondage of self. It's not like, please relieve me as self from all bondage. No, it doesn't say that. Self is the bondage. Yeah. So there you go. We're here again. We'll be here Thursday. Nothing new, because something told me if I don't see this, I'm looking from it. So that's why, you know. Yeah. And there's so many people, tons of information of looking at the different, if there was a period instead of a comma, it would have changed the whole book. There's people that are really incredibly good at all that. We just have one message, and that is about the exact nature of the wrong. And the message is the exact nature of the wrong is foreign to your actual nature. Yeah. It's an uninvited guest that's calling itself the master. That's what's happening. Yeah, so we want to do an eviction. We can't do it our own power, so the program does it. Yeah, and the higher power is like a big dog that blows the story of the little dog being a big dog when it shows up. And the little dog rolls over and fucking takes on a posture of humility, feigned or not. Yeah. Yeah, so I would say the door that self comes out of is the same door the higher power is going to come in and out of. It's right located right where you are at all times, with no requirement necessary for it to have access, other than your belief that you don't give it access. Yeah. So the higher power of this understanding is I have a higher power of its own understanding. And by hearing and getting downloads from its own understanding, it's told me you can't be far from it because it's everywhere. And you can basically say whatever acts you're performing or staying sober are probably good enough to fulfill the contract, which is it's going to take care of us. Yeah. Don't you have that feeling that you're in good hands? It grows on you, really. Yeah. After you've been taken care of for so many years, it's not a chanted assurance. It's a sense felt assurance. You feel okay. Yeah. It's not bad, because in the head, you don't feel okay. So, hey, that's it.
No hands up so far. If you have a question, feel free to raise your hand. Rico has a question.
Good morning. I didn't really have a question. Good morning, family and friends. Thank you for letting me be here with you. I send you love and light from my heart to yours today. Paul, I just wanted to tell you, thank you for that clarification. That hit home this morning for whatever reasons. That was really, really, really clear, succinct, and right where I needed it to be. I really felt that one. So I just wanted to say thank you. I didn't have a question.
About playing God?
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, we grow into these understandings and we grow out of the misunderstandings. Like it says, you're going to outgrow fear. You're going to outgrow a lot of misunderstandings in this program if you stay with it. Yeah. And I had that misunderstanding that I was that which was playing God. And it was producing a lot of guilt and shame. And it had its own furnace and it was supplying its own wood, cooking me up every day. Yeah. And I guess sometimes when you're presented with an idea of relief and it sounds like you'll have to do a lot and there's a lot of orders to follow, you're afraid you're going to be a failure once again. This message is this is how you succeed, is by admitting you're failing. Yeah. This is when you start feeling power, is when you admit powerlessness. Yeah. When you don't admit powerlessness, you experience powerlessness. People do not listen to you and do what you want. A lot of shit happens. But when you admit powerlessness, you feel power. You do. Yeah. It's okay for people not to want to do what you want. You don't even want to do what you want. So fuck. You just can't help it. But they can, because they don't see you, as them. So they can say, fuck you. Yeah. But the playing God was a interesting process, because 12 steps means it's a linear process. Yeah. And usually in linear processes, the most important would be first, and maybe a reinforcement would be last. Yeah. So when it says in the big book of AA, first, you've got to quit playing God, it's not galvanized as a step, but it's like the prequel to all the steps. Because if the steps are played by that which is playing God, the results are going to be different, because that which is playing God is like a transactional fucking God. Yeah. It says, I'll do this if I get that. Yeah. And so if the head does the third step, it surrenders only when it's in a pinch, and then takes control, and then surrenders again when everything fucks up. And yes, so it's like a transactional deal. And that's not how it's presented in AA. The third step is like a launching point, where that gets completed and then you move on. It's not like going back and forth, taking control, on giving it over. Yes, it's just, so through the surrender of the third step and doing the work, you get to a state of being surrendered. So you're not busily surrendering all day, because you're surrendered. Yeah, so it gets established. That which is playing God can't do that, because it will line itself up with something, but if it thinks something's better is coming, it's going to easily split. Yeah. Yeah. So to get an understanding of what quit playing God means, I hope this will help you a little bit, because it really helped me. Because it was just another thing to be guilty about. I'm playing God again. Oh, fuck, Jesus Christ. That's why I drank and used. I wanted to take all this responsibility of playing God off my fucking shoulders. Yeah. So, no, but when it quit playing God doesn't mean there's a quit playing God. That which is playing God keeps playing God. You quit that God playing. Yes. Yeah. Now you have a higher power, and you're trusting the higher power instead of the finite God called self. Yeah. So let it play God. It can't, it can have tons of matchbooks. It can't light a fire anymore. So it's great. Give them all the matchbooks it wants. It can't do shit, literally. Yeah. It could be like a little nuisance, like a little dog you don't notice because you're wearing boots, who's trying to bite you on on your ankle. You can't, just, you look down occasionally, but you keep on keeping on. Yeah. Yeah. Instead of this imposing obstacle of self in front of you, it's a little chihuahua biting at your well-protected ankles. One little whack, you throw them off the, yeah. So yeah, that was an important shift of understanding, and the understanding that resentments aren't mine has been incredibly valuable. Yeah, unbelievable. That when I look through a certain pair of glasses called self-centeredness, yeah, this is how I see things. I can see things differently if I don't look through the same glasses. And this is what AA offers. It offers a recognition of the failure of what you've been looking through and the possibility of looking through something else. And maybe you're going to see in a clearer manner. Yeah. Yeah. So like Chuck C said, a new pair of glasses. Yeah. The eyes are fine. Our eyes are fine. Our spirit has been untouched. But the glasses that we're looking through are defining the vision that we're having. Yeah. The vision itself isn't defined, but the glasses we look through are defining that vision. And most of us the vision is self-centeredness. Yeah. We're seeing everything as how it pertains to us, the us that we're actually not, the body. Yeah. So AA gives you a new pair of glasses to check out. And maybe you'll see better. Maybe you'll see clearer. Yeah. And then what's the form? What's the maintenance? Just not take off the glasses. Just keep wearing the glasses. Yeah. Oh, that's too hard to keep wearing. Well, once you're in the habit of it, it ain't. Yeah. You're just wearing glasses. Yeah, that's all. Yeah. You see the old ones, you only wear it the night, that one night at the midnight showing of Rocky Horror Show. That's about it. You bring the glasses out to do that. All right. Well, anyone?
Excellent. Thank you. Excellent.
Yeah, you're welcome, man.
There is a question in the comments from Robert saying, where is forgiveness for AKA I or self, I guess?
I don't care about forgiveness for self. I don't know. I like to recognize self as other, and then I'll let it deal with its own unforgiveness. Yeah. Yeah. Forgiveness. Does the car need to seek forgiveness for driving to the bank that got robbed? No, because the car didn't drive, it was driven. Yes. Yes. It was driven. The car did not sin. The car did not do anything. You were used for shit to happen. Yeah. You're accountable. You make the amends. And yeah. Mm. What you ever hear of the Course of Miracles? They talk about forgiveness and they talk about atonement. And atonement is recognize you never did any of the shit that you're seeking forgiveness for. That you were driven and you were used by something. Yeah. And so I see it that way more than self-forgiveness. All right. I'm pondering about all that right now. It's coming. There's does a snake seek forgiveness after it bites you? It's just its nature. Yeah. So this idea of self has a nature, and we've seen it in its flamboyant expressions in active addiction and drugs and alcohol. And that's its nature. I don't think it seeks forgiveness at all. I think it seeks not getting caught, really. It wants you to hold the bag. Here, I forgive you. So, yeah, I would, Yeah. Supposedly Jesus said off the cross, "Forgive them, for they do not know what they do." Well, isn't that the forgiveness of recognizing that the true nature of what has defeated us is foreign? We had no idea that we were taken over by something until we meet a lot of other people that were taken over by the same something. And then we can come to a clearer understanding of what has taken us over, and that it's foreign to us. It's not us. Yeah. If it's us, there's a whole lot of us's around doing exactly the same fucking thing. Yeah. I feel like we've been taken over, and yeah, it's more of an acknowledgement of its nature. It's foreign to you. A parasite's not going to become a service animal, is it? It's not going to become your favorite amigo usually, because its nature is a parasitical nature. For it to win in a way, you have to lose. So it's just the way the game's set up. Yeah, yeah. The relief of not being the doer of all those horrendous things wasn't really a sense of forgiveness. It was a sense of atonement. It was a sense that what I had done to you, I would have done to anyone unless you could physically stop me. Yeah. Because I wasn't at the controls. Yeah. So I found an immunity by recognizing what had defeated me as foreign to me. That brought about an immunity, and I guess I've lost interest in trying to find self-forgiveness. Yeah, it's still going to be parasitical in nature, forgiven or not. Yeah. Yeah. Send it to culture school for years. Yeah. All right.
Another question in the comments from Thomas: "This seeing what I'm not comes and goes for how long?"
I don't know. You'll have to find that out in your own experience. Yeah. The seeing of what you're not doesn't come and go. The seeing of what you're not is completely stabilized. It's the head that moves away and then moves towards it, and moves away and moves towards it. Yeah. So the seeing of what you're not, the seeing is always seeing. The understanding that what you used to see and call you may not be you is something that gets introduced into, and unfortunately or fortunately, it usually has to be introduced through the system of self-centeredness to lead to the point of being before the system of self-centeredness. But it tends to have to go through the gauntlet of self-centeredness because the male slot is in time and space, and its imaginative historical fact has been in place, so we get it through. It has to go through a little gauntlet to get to us, but when it gets to us, we've been there all along. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how I can say it clearer, but that's sort of what it's like. So most people listen to a message in time and space, and with an organized levels of facts that aren't facts. And this is why, in most cases, the person who wants to hear the message is the obstacle to the message. Yeah. That's just the way it goes. So, you put it in one mail slot, the letter gets, it's like if you write a letter in prison and then, or someone sends you one, it gets redacted by the time the person gets the message. It wasn't the message you put out. Yeah. But
Okay.
this is a point you learn also, and then you see how this is never going to get it, and that becomes an incredible, valuable recognition. Yeah. That which is playing God is not going to quit playing God. That which is playing God, if it tries to quit playing God, that's playing God. That's all it is. It's selfing, 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 selfing.
Yeah.
You're before that, but sometimes where you're going to hear the message seems to be established after that. So we've got to get through the gauntlet of you.
Mm.
But we're relentless in that pursuit. Yeah. Just like Rico said, he heard something today. This is the beauty of these platforms. Every week, you may hear something that you didn't hear the other weeks, yet it was probably said. And this is what happens, yeah?
Mm.
Yeah. This is a message about what you are may need to be repeated because what you're not's not into it. What you're not wants to hear a message about what it can be or what it was.
Yeah.
Or what it should be, or what it couldn't. It wants to be a lot of unbecoming and becoming, but what is very boring to the head. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the head's agitation, if you actually brought it to a point of rest, you would see its stories about longing to rest is all bullshit. It's agitated. It's agitated. It's like a monkey.
Very.
It can't stop. Yeah. So when you recognize that and stop calling yourself, its characteristics, it's agitated, it translates into you're agitated. I don't see that. I see it's agitated and I'm not agitated.
Okay.
Yeah. So the seeing of what you're not is just a little sort of a trigger. And then after a while, that trigger doesn't have to be pulled. It's yeah, you're just walking around in a relief from the bondage of self. That's the point. Yeah.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah. So you don't have to keep seeing what you're not. If you see what you're not, it'll be enough at some point because you'll recognize almost everything that you're seeing or appearing is what you're not. Yeah. So it's going to be it's not like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's like 1, 3,000, 3,000, 28,000. Yeah. There's
Okay.
leaps. Yeah. The big mind leaps. Big M. Yeah. Yes. It doesn't have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, but ad infinitum. It jumps from, let's say, 1 to 83 to infinitum. Yeah. 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 And then the infinitum gets brought back to all the other numbers. Yeah. 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 I'm not sitting going, I'm not that all day. I don't know what I'm doing. And I don't think it's worthy of reporting what I'm doing usually. So I don't subscribe to my own newsletter and I don't send any newsletter out to anyone else. Yeah. What I was doing a little while ago, I've forgotten completely. Because it's worthy of forgetfulness, tell you the truth. What we are can never be forgotten, can't be remembered. Yeah. It's always, always so. Yeah. A lot of shit we attempted to, the head tries to remember that is really forgettable. You have to admit that. I mean, shit. And then, yeah, you'll get into the habit of forgetting what's forgettable. You will.
Okay.
Yeah. And then there'll be not a remembering because it's on. So you can't remember it's on. It's on. So it's not, it wouldn't be called a remembering. Let's say you could call it an abiding. You're abiding in a constant I amness, so to speak. Yeah. So your spiritual heart is beating and you're picking up that beat. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the best I can do. Right this second. Yeah.
All right. Question from
Thank you.
Mike.
Who?
Mike M.
Mike M.
Hey, Paul. I think what has trickled into the matrix here more than anything is really investigating anything that the word self starts with. You know, like self-care, self-esteem. We had a good talk the other night in Kurt's meeting about like self-esteem, and like, why would I go to that for esteem is really what came to me. Why would I keep going to the thing? Because there is some seductive promises that are delusionary that come from that fucking self. You know, take care of yourself, go do this, go to therapy, figure out these issues, which is all great if I can, quote unquote, bring those into the AA cave. But if self can't get out of self, like I can't produce any of that with the thing that I keep using. And that has been an awakening here that is taking me beyond any approach that I've tried to make therapeutically. And I'm not dissing therapy. It was just that I was so desperately trying to use that to process, right? We process these things and, you know, just try to be a better person by using some sort of tools that ultimately are being used by the thing that continually kicks my ass. The one thing that that's hit me in the last 6 months, and I've said the prayer probably, I don't know, thousands of times, it is by self forgetting that one finds. That never, ever occurred to me at the level that we talk about here. And I think the process of these amends also really hit me when you talked about like we make these amends and we move on instead of carrying the brunt and the burden of shame and guilt. Well, I made the amends, you know, but I still feel bad about it. It's like, what? You know, but I get it and I understand it because I was in this mainstream idea about really using a spiritual program as a self-help program without even knowing it. And the clarity that has come around not using self to get out of self, or the times that I've been using it, and the idea of losing interest in that thing has actually made me a healthier person without trying to be a healthy person, without, like you said, going to the gym 3 hours a day, watching everything that I eat. I start to lose interest in the things that are kind of just fucking toxic to my mind, to my body. Last thing, my wife loves watching previews, and I sit down and we watch previews together. Oh, that looks interesting. Maybe we'll see that. Oh, that's cool. That's coming out at the end of August or whatever. But like we turn the fucking previews off and that's it. And that's just not so with this thing. It's giving me previews. It's giving me fear based on these previews of what's going to be happening. And like, just to lose interest is such a beautiful thing, dude, that has happened here, man. You know, in spite of the self, I get to lose interest. And I get to drop ownership on all kinds of shit because that's what the self wants me to own all of this. So I can try and wrest this satisfaction out of life. And if everything was just in place, if only, like you said earlier, if only people would act the way I think they need to act. And what a blessing, man. It's a blessing, dude. I appreciate you. Sorry I missed you. I was going to come visit over the weekend while you were down there with Kurt and Ted. I just had this fucking COVID and it jacked me up. So maybe I can make it up there sometime and hang out. That'd be nice.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I want to run on something you just said, though, a little bit. So losing interest in self, it's sort of like, let's say in a room, the radio was on really loud. Yeah. And now from the view of self, you go, I'm gonna ignore the radio. Yeah. But it's way loud. Yeah. And you fail. You keep listening to the radio. Oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Loss of interest in self is like the volume of the radio goes down. Yeah. And so there's no vowing, I'm going to not listen to the radio. There's no, I gotta get noise reduction, fucking Bose headphones, all this stuff. I vow not to follow or listen to the radio, but the radio's super loud. Yeah, good luck. Yeah. You don't realize that which is vowing not to listen to radio is upping the volume of the radio. Yeah. So this is losing interest. That's all. And when you lose interest, that volume goes down. And that which used to capture your attention doesn't capture your attention as much, because it's not as loud as it once was. It's just that fucking simple. Yeah. And why is it? Is because you start on the premise that it's not you. This is the whole point. All the trying to make it not me, or trying to make another better me that wouldn't be like that, not me. Yeah, it's not me. I lost interest. When I realized self was not me, I lost interest in it. That's it. And then the program was now seen as a way, not in any self-centered manner, to sort of, instead of, that sincerely trying to take, I'm not going to listen to the radio, though it's super loud, got established in the radio volume went down. Yeah. And now the radio volume's down, and that used to really be so dramatic and everything is like Comedy Central in most cases. Yeah, it's just, it brings it back about a smile, because it will never fail you in its fucking myopicness. It would just keep astounding you at how self cannot get out of self. It cannot. Yeah. And so there's the radio station now has been turned, instead of like on CNN, and you're at the edge of Armageddon every day listening to the news. It's like Comedy Central, like the Daily Show with the Colbert Show matched up, and it's fucking, it's good. It keeps you amused instead of, in anxiety. It keeps you amused. What other fucking, because it goes into its wardrobe and tries to come out, tries to have like an authoritarian voice, and it just falls flat on its face, because the audience sees everything it presents as a comedy now. Fucking, this is an incredible state. And the program brings us to this point. It says, the problem will not exist for you anymore. Yeah, yeah. The problem will not exist for you. What may it exist for you now? As comedy, as resource of a comedic resource. Fucking great. I like the problem to be used that way. Amusement for yourself and others. Great. Fucking, yeah. It doesn't just get rid of the problem. It takes what the problem was and gives it a whole other meaning. It's incredible, eh? Really. It's incredible. Who knew that station that was like the worst news station in the world became an incredible, great comedy station with the same punditry and everything, but just an underlying laughing at everything. It's awesome. Yeah. Who could have come up with this? No one can. We're dealing with something that's not myopic. Yeah. And we can't be we cannot be panoramic, but we can express panoramic. We can express what's looking through us. So when the panoramic is looking through us, we can express it, yeah? And that may look like a traveling lighter. Yeah. So, like we were under the influence of alcohol and drugs, we're under a huge influence of higher power now. Huge, hugely influential. Throughout our day, knowing it or not, yeah? Yeah. So, hey, is that it?
No more hands up.
All right, well, let's start saying goodbye. We'll be here later today, 4:30. The meeting at 4:30 is really about the before. we're about the after of what happened with us being taken over by this fucking thing, and now we're relieved of it. But the after gives you a real atonement and a real forgiveness, because you have always been at the before. Before all the shit hit the fan, you are just as bright and clean, as luminous as now. Yeah. So the message at 4:30 is that which is already established, that we seem to get established in after we get sober. In fact, we've never not been established in it. Yeah, wow, not bad. So we'll be at 4:30 Pacific time. I'll see you guys. Thank you so much. John, Florida, Axel, Germany, Rico. Yes, quit playing God. That which is playing God cannot quit playing God. That would be playing God ad infinitum. You can't get out of it. Kathy, Cleveland. Kathleen, Pennsylvania, not Delaware. Roman Mueller. Roman, I'll be seeing you in a month or so. Yeah, very cool. Joseph C., our man in Paris, or in France, not Paris. John K., Mickey, as always. Sean, nice to see you. Ben, Miss Volkman, Rick Rowe in Toronto, Oliver in Berlin, Don O.C., nice to see you, Don. Thanks for dropping in. Tom, we got a phone, some kind of numbers. And let's see. Hey, thanks. Pleasure, really a pleasure. You know, the tradition of the loving God expressing itself through our group conscience. Yeah. If you need any example, this is a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. See you. Bye-bye.